They might not call, they might not text, they might pretend the connection never mattered, but the unconscious never lies. It spills out in restless gestures, in the slip of their voice when they speak your name, in the way they linger near the places where your memory still breathes. Jung believed that what we repress never disappears. It returns, disguised, haunting us in dreams, in projections, in the trembling spaces between the words we dare not say. So, if they miss you, their unconscious is already showing you. You want the truth. You want them to look you in the eye and say it, "I miss you. I can't stop thinking about you." You want the confession, the reassurance, the clarity. But the human psyche rarely offers such clean resolution, especially when pride, fear, and unresolved wounds are in the way. Carl Jung spent his life studying the labyrinth of the unconscious, the realm of hidden fears, repressed desires, and unspoken truths that shape our relationships. He believed we are ruled not by what we know, but by what we refuse to see. And when it comes to longing, this rule is no different. They might swear they've moved on. They might scoff at the idea of missing you. They might even convince themselves of their own story. But in moments of quiet, the unconscious leaks out. It leaks out in the patterns they can't control, in the way they circle back to old memories, in the way they bring up your name subtly, indirectly, almost as if by accident. That's not accident. That's the unconscious speaking through the cracks in their armor. Jung called this the shadow, the part of us that holds all we deny, all we push away, all we bury because it threatens the fragile mask we show the world. When someone misses you but refuses to admit it, that longing sinks into their shadow. But it doesn't vanish, it festers, it finds ways to surface. Maybe you notice they show up in places they know you might be. Maybe mutual friends mention how often your name comes up in casual conversation. Maybe they react to old photos, liking posts from years ago. These aren't coincidences. These are the unconscious pulling the strings, searching for you in the places where their conscious mind won't let them go. Jung once wrote that the unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good, not only dark, but also light. Not only bestial, semi-human, and demonic, but superhuman, spiritual, and, in the classical sense of the word, divine. Longing itself is a bridge between these realms, the shadowed desire that holds both love and pain, both regret and hope. When someone misses you, their unconscious is flooded with the emotional residue of what was left unsaid, undone, unresolved. They can't help but remember the smell of your skin, the cadence of your voice, the way you laughed in moments when the world fell silent. Even if they try to shut the door, the unconscious will open it again, because the psyche doesn't forget what the heart truly felt. And the unconscious has a language all its own. It speaks in dreams, the ones where you appear suddenly, as if nothing has changed. It speaks in anxiety, a sudden spike of restlessness when they hear a song that reminds them of you. It speaks in projection, when they accuse you of being the one who can't let go because deep down, they're fighting their own inability to move on. Jung believed we project what we can't integrate. So, when they push you away with coldness, it might be their own fear of vulnerability screaming in disguise. When they dismiss you, they might be dismissing the part of themselves that longs for you most, because the unconscious never stays silent forever. It reveals what the ego wants to hide in sighs, in dreams, in unfinished sentences, in restless eyes. You can't always hear it, but if you watch closely, you can feel it, the pulse beneath their words, the trembling truth beneath the mask. They miss you, even if they never say it. How the unconscious reveals missing you. They might say it doesn't matter. They might swear they've forgotten. They might even build a new life around someone else's smile. But the unconscious doesn't let go so easily. When someone misses you but won't admit it, the longing slips out in the most unexpected ways. Jung believed our dreams and slips of the tongue are not random. They're the psyche's attempt to bring hidden truths into the light. In dreams, the unconscious speaks directly. It doesn't care about pride, reputation, or rational explanation. They might dream of you showing up at their door furious or radiant or broken. They might wake up with the memory lingering like a ghost, your voice echoing through their day. They won't tell you. They might not even tell themselves how much it shakes them. But the dream is the unconscious screaming the truth they try to bury. And then there are the slips. They mention your name by accident. They start telling a story, catch themselves, and quickly change the subject. They say we instead of I, as if you're still there beside them. These are cracks in the conscious mask, tiny ruptures, where the hidden longing leaks through. Jung called this the complex, a cluster of charged memories, emotions, and impulses buried beneath our awareness. When someone has unresolved feelings for you, your presence is part of their complex. They can't erase you without erasing part of themselves. So you come up in their stories, in their references, in their jokes. They might laugh and brush it off, but underneath is a tremor, a vulnerability they don't know how to hold. And then there's projection. They accuse you of moving on too quickly. They call you heartless, distant, cold. They say you're the one pretending. But often they're projecting their own fear of being left behind, because deep down they are the ones terrified that you've stopped caring, that you've let go, that you've found peace without them. Projection is how the unconscious defends itself from unbearable truth. So when they lash out, when they diminish your worth, when they build stories about how you've wronged them, watch closely. Sometimes that story is the mirror of their own unfinished ache. Jung believed that until we integrate the shadow, it rules us from the dark, making us hurt others with the very wounds we refuse to face. So, if they lash out, it may be the place where they hurt most. Their anger is the raw wound of missing you. Their dismissive laugh is the shield over the vulnerable heart that still beats your name. You cannot fix this for them. You cannot pry open the unconscious by force, but you can learn to read the signs, to stop doubting your intuition when you feel that pulse beneath the surface, because the unconscious never stays buried forever. Sooner or later, it finds a way out. Why the unconscious pulls them back. They leave, they swear they're done. They build new lives, new routines, new smiles that don't include you. But somehow, they return. Sometimes it's obvious, a message out of nowhere, a late-night call, a sudden reappearance on your doorstep. Other times, it's subtle, liking an old photo, asking mutual friends about you, sending you a song that reminds them of what you once shared. This pattern of return is not random. Jung believed the psyche is driven by forces beyond our conscious control, forces that pull us back to what is unresolved, to the wounds we've left bleeding, to the love we never learned to grieve. When they circle back, it's not always because they want reconciliation. Sometimes it's simply the unconscious seeking relief from guilt, from longing, from the haunting of unfinished stories. They might not even understand why they're drawn back to you. They might dress it up as curiosity, nostalgia, or friendship, but beneath the surface is the restless pull of the psyche, the shadow demanding attention, the complex whispering, "You're not done here." This is why their return often comes with confusion, mixed signals, contradictory words, because consciously, they may fear closeness. They may not trust themselves to love you the way you deserve, but unconsciously, they are tethered to you by the unresolved parts of themselves, the memories, the regrets, the hope that maybe this time it will be different. It is in this tension between conscious denial and unconscious longing that the truth flickers, raw and unguarded. Watch how they look at you when they think you're not watching. Listen to the tremor in their voice when they bring up the past. Feel the way the air changes when you're in the same room. These are the places where the unconscious speaks, not in decorations, but in the pauses, the slips, the lingering gazes. And here's the deeper paradox. The unconscious will keep pulling them back until they face the truth, until they make peace with what they lost, until they integrate the wound they keep running from. Jung taught that the shadow is not just what we hate in ourselves. It is also the parts of us we cannot let go, the love we fear is too big to hold, the tenderness we were told we did not deserve. So they run, then they return, over and over, until they are brave enough to stand still, to look into the mirror of your eyes, and see the reflection of everything they've been denying. That is the moment when real healing becomes possible. But not everyone reaches it. Some keep running. Some keep returning, leaving behind breadcrumbs of longing they never pick up again. And you must decide, will you follow their unconscious pull forever? Or will you let them go, even when their shadow reaches for you in the dark? Because sometimes the greatest act of love is refusing to let their unfinished ache keep you bound to a story that never finds an ending. Freeing yourself from their unconscious longing, you see the signs, the lingering glances, the half-written messages, the moments they almost admit they miss you. Part of you wants to hold on. Part of you hopes their unconscious longing will become conscious love, that one day they'll return fully ready awake. But here's the harsh truth. You cannot live your life waiting for someone else to grow brave enough to face their shadow. Jung taught that the path to wholeness is an individual journey. No one can walk it for you, and you cannot walk it for them. So, when they reach out in confusion, when they send signals wrapped in longing but laced with fear, you face a choice. You can stay trapped in their unfinished business, circling endlessly around their unconscious ache, or you can step into the light, alone, free, choosing yourself over the possibility of what might one day be. Because the unconscious signs they miss you are not always an invitation to wait. Sometimes, they're simply proof that the past still haunts them. But haunting is not the same as healing. You deserve love that is conscious, clear, present, love that does not hide behind projections and dreams and restless gestures. Love that does not demand you sacrifice your own growth to keep them comfortable in their unresolved pain. Jung believed that true relationship begins when two whole people meet, not as halves searching for completion, but as souls willing to hold each other without losing themselves. If they cannot face their longing, if they cannot bring it into the light and speak it with honesty, it is not your job to excavate it for them. Your task is your own soul. Your task is your own healing. Your task is to break the pattern of waiting, of hoping, of reading signs in the dark while your own life passes by untouched. So, when the unconscious signs come, the restless messages, the sudden reappearances, the unfinished confessions, you can acknowledge them without surrendering your power. You can say, I see your longing, I hear your ache. But I will not pause my life waiting for you to find the courage to meet me where I already stand. Because your life is too precious to be lived in the shadow of someone else's uncertainty. You deserve to be chosen fully, not just in their unconscious dreams, not just in their guilty silences, but here, now, in the bright light of day. That is where real love lives, and that is where you must stand, even if it means standing alone for a while. Because love that demands you wait in the dark is not love, it is a wound disguised as devotion. Jung wrote that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Let that be your task. Let their longing be their burden, until they choose to transform it into something real. Until then, your path is forward. Your healing is here. Your freedom is now. You do not need to hold space for the ghosts of the past. You do not need to interpret every unconscious sign, every lingering gesture, every half-spoken word, because you deserve love that is awake, present, certain. And the only way to invite that kind of love into your life is to choose yourself first, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in quiet, unwavering certainty. You are worthy of love that does not hide. You are worthy of love that does not run. You are worthy of love that looks you in the eye and says, clearly, I choose you. That is the greatest act of healing you can give yourself. And when you claim that, the universe answers.